She was wonderful. She brought me such joy, and she still does.
How to explain how a mother feels when her child has vanished and all signs point to something bad.
Please don't let nothing be wrong. Please, please. I'll never forget that, and I remember saying to her, please help me. And she did. She got the ball rolling. She listened to me.
To the Dent family, it was just any ordinary morning in October. The morning sun struggled up, casting somber tones into the sky as this household stirred into activity. Mornings when everyone is programmed by routine tend to make one lower his guard about events going badly off the rail. By nightfall, a daughter will be missing, and for this family, a world will be forever changed. An empty room, silence that would roar for 14 long years.
We are following breaking news tonight out of Charlotte County. The sheriff's office investigating a body discovered in Punta Gorda.
Right now, this is a very active crime scene. This is happening on Naranjo Drive. This is near Estrella Boulevard. That's just south of Trucker's Grade.
This is Tara Sidorovich's story, a boisterous young woman of only 19 who had her life stolen, but they would not keep her spirit down and gone. Tara's laughter once filled these walls, echoing through the hallways like sunshine pouring into shadows. Her plans, dreams, and vibrant energy left an imprint on everyone she touched. Yet, as the hours passed and concern twisted into panic, the house that had been her sanctuary felt colder, as if even the walls mourned her absence. The questions would grow louder, the search would stretch further, and the fight for justice would burn fiercely in the hearts of those who loved her. This is not just the story of loss, it is the story of remembrance, of a family unwilling to let her memory fade into the void. Sharon Dent left for work early, the recognizable hum of morning chores behind her. The house was quiet, as was often the case in those very early hours. Tara stayed in, entrusted with the responsibility of welcoming plumbers due that morning to fix a septic issue. It was to have been a straightforward job, one which would not delay her. Sharon remembers gently rousing Tara, calling her name. Tara stirred in her covers, her earrings on and ribbons from the previous day tied in her hair. Sharon smiled, told her daughter she loved her, and slipped out the door. A gesture so small, yet it would become the last memory she would hold on to for years to come. As the sun rose higher, life carried on outside, but inside that home, a clock quietly ticked away the moments before everything unraveled. Sharon's parting words, simple and affectionate, would echo endlessly in her mind, growing heavier with every day Tara remained missing. The house, once filled with warmth and routine, would soon become a canvas for unanswered questions. It's strange how ordinary moments, a kiss goodbye, a fleeting smile, can later feel like anchors holding someone to the past, unable to let go or move forward. Sharon couldn't have known that, as she left that morning, she was stepping into a future divided by before and after. When Sharon returned home that evening, she saw Tara's car parked in the driveway. Relief temporarily set in. That relief, however, was very short-lived. Tara wasn't inside. Her younger sister Veronica hadn't seen her all day. Sharon called out, checked Tara's room. Her purse was there, her keys laid out neatly. It didn't make sense. Tara would never leave without her things. As Keith Dent searched the house, dread set in. The sense that something was deeply wrong overwhelmed them. A drawer left ajar showed missing jewelry and cash. There was no hesitation. Keith picked up the phone and dialed the sheriff's department. There was no hesitation. Keith picked up the phone and dialed the sheriff's department. The weight of silence pressed down on the house, every corner seemingly louder in its stillness. Sharon and Keith exchanged glances, their unspoken fears taking shape with each unanswered call to Tara's phone. Shadows stretched across the walls as the evening wore on, turning familiarity into suspicion. The missing items painted a troubling picture, one of intrusion, disruption, and the chilling possibility that someone had crossed the threshold of their home with dark intent. That phone call to the sheriff's department would mark the beginning of a search that would stretch for years, a search not just for Tara, but for answers and justice. Deputies arrived and treated the case as one of burglary. Neighbors were questioned, Yet no one had seen anything suspicious. The answers they so desperately needed to be refused to surface. Later that evening, with friends gathering to comfort the family, there was something that drew their attention. An earring pressed deep into the carpet. Tara's earring, in fact, the same one she had on that morning. Something violent, indeed, had taken place inside that house. The earring wasn't just a clue, it was a rupture in their reality, a sign that the very walls meant to shelter them had borne witness to something terrible. At that moment, the house they had lived in for years no longer felt safe, and the search for Tara became more urgent, more desperate. The unanswered questions no longer lingered quietly in the corners, they demanded to be chased down. The deeper investigators looked, the more unsettling the details that emerged. The mattress was shifted slightly, as if someone had tried to move it. Faint scuff marks traced along the dresser. Outside, tire tracks curved dangerously close to the front door. A small palm tree lay bent to the side, as if a vehicle had clipped it. And twisted, crumpled in the grass, lay a ribbon, one of Tara's ribbons. The picture was forming, yet without Tara herself, it didn't explain a thing. Each clue felt like a whisper from the past, hinting at a story that refused to fully reveal itself. The investigators walked the property in silence, the weight of what they weren't seeing settling over them like a fog. The tire tracks told of a hurried departure, the disturbed furniture hinted at a struggle, but it was the ribbon, delicate, personal, that made it all feel chillingly intimate. To Sharon, that ribbon wasn't just evidence, it was a piece of Tara, left behind like a breadcrumb on a path she couldn't follow. The house that once held warmth now felt cold, haunted by the absence of the young woman whose life had unfolded there. Every detail magnified the ache, and yet the most important detail of all, where Tara was, remained agonizingly out of reach. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the yard, one thing became clear: Tara hadn't simply disappeared. She had been taken. The septic workers had been the last ones to have seen her. Philip Barr and David McManus had been to the house that morning. They would admit to having spoken with Tara briefly, but insisted they had left shortly afterward.
Teenager Tara Sidarovich was murdered back in 2001. Prosecutors say Philip Barr is responsible. The repairman was working on a septic tank near her home. The 19-year-old disappeared. Her body was found 2 years later in a wooded area.
As the days turned into weeks and the weeks into months, the disappearance of Tara just melted away into the dark of an unsolved mystery. Her 20th birthday came and went. Presents that had been wrapped stood still, awaiting the owner that would never appear. Almost a year later, 10 miles away from the Dent home, a construction worker had found something that breathed new life into this case. Human remains, hidden beneath the brush in the thick of a remote wooded area, scattered bones worn by time, and that undeniable Florida heat, a small belly button ring accompanying them.
9 months later, the Tara's remains were found here in this wooded area off Burnstall Road in Punta Gorda. But what still remains a mystery is how she got to this location and who took Tara's life far too soon.
The nightmare that had plagued the Dent family for so long finally came true. Tara had been found. The autopsy painted a grim picture. Tara had fought for her life. Her ribs bore fractures inflicted at the time of death. Despite extensive searches, less than half of her remains were recovered. The brutal conditions had erased precious evidence, leaving investigators to piece together what they could. Justice felt unreachable, slipping further from their grasp. Tara Sidarovich's case went cold until 2009. A cold case unit was formed and her file was reopened. New leads were pursued. One key witness finally came forward, a sister-in-law of a neighbor who had been visiting on the day Tara vanished. She remembered Barr and McManus returning to the Dent house that afternoon. But something was off. They backed their truck close to the front door, sweating and frantic. The image of their faces stuck with her for years. Investigators now had the missing puzzle piece, but the final nail came in the form of a recorded jail call. Barr, already incarcerated on unrelated charges, had spoken to his girlfriend Linda. In the call, Linda admitted seeing a body wrapped in a sheet in the Dent driveway. She remembered Barr asking how to clean blood and remove DNA. This chilling confession was what investigators finally needed to charge Barr and McManus. The trials were swift. After just 90 minutes of deliberation, the jury delivered their verdict guilty. Barr and McManus were sentenced to life in prison.
The jury only deliberated for about 90 minutes in this case. That after hearing 13 days worth of testimony and more than 50 witnesses. I also saw some members of Tara's family wearing a Justice for Tara shirt. Hopefully they are feeling a little bit more relieved with the verdict they just got. I'm hoping to catch up with them in the next few minutes.
Justice had finally arrived, though it had taken 14 long years. The story of Tara Sidarovich is a haunting reminder of how fragile life can be. Her family went through unimaginable pain, but such resilience in them had already warranted that Tara's voice would never be silenced.
She's never gonna come back. It's very hard. But I'm very glad and grateful that they will spend the rest of their life in jail.
In the end, their persistence paid off to bring about justice, a manifestation of how stubborn love was, complemented by stubborn hope. Tara's memory lives on, a beacon for those who still seek answers and closure in the face of loss. If you found this video compelling and want to hear more true crime stories, cold case investigations, and unsolved mysteries, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Your engagement not only fuels our mission, but also helps keep these stories alive. By digging deep into the shadows of forgotten cases, we aim to bring light to the stories that scream for justice. Please enable notifications to stay updated on our latest true crime documentaries and cold case files. Each video we create is more than just a story. It's a call to remember to question and to seek answers for those who can no longer speak for themselves. Together, we can keep their memories alive and push for the justice they deserve. Thank you for watching and being part of this journey to uncover the truth.